Hola amigos. Today for the lesson we are going to cover ER and IR verbs. Now as you remember from last time, Spanish has three categories of verbs, the AR verbs and ER and IR. We covered these ones first because they're the most common. Now we will cover ER and IR verbs. Awesome. This is just the same concept that we did last week. We identify the verb, whether it is an AR verb or an IR verb, okay, in its infinitive form. We will drop that ending and conjugate accordingly. So instead of last week with AR verbs where it was o, as, a, amos, an, o, as, a, amos, an, this week with ER and IR verbs, we are saying o, es, e, hemos, en. O, es, e, hemos, en. O, es, e, hemos, en. For ER verbs. And for IR verbs, o, es, e, imos, en. O, es, e, imos, en. So if we hit it with the beat, o, es, e, imos, en. O, es, e, imos, en. For IR verbs. All right, awesome. So as we go down the line here, we have an example. Comer, to eat. I love it. And we are going to go through the steps like we did last week. First, we identify what type of verb is this? Comer. It is an ER verb. So let's go ahead and put the endings into our chart. If we remember the beat, we're going to start out with o, as. Oh, is that right? It is not, because this is an AR verb. Many of you are going to make that mistake and think, wait, this is a different type of verb. This is ER. Now we remember it. O, es, e, ER, hemos, and en. So we have our endings, right? Very good. Now, what is the stem of comer? Remember how to do that? We drop the ending. Poof. There's the stem. And we put that in. Dun, 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 dun. Ooh, we missed. So comer, conjugated. Yo como, tú comes. Singular peoples. Él come, ella come, usted come. María come. El perro come. Singular peoples or things, right there. Nosotros comemos, and ellos, ellas, ustedes comen. Any plural group of people that you are not a part of is yo, would be right here. Comen. Mis hijos comen mucha pizza. My kids eat a lot of pizza, as do I. Yo como hamburguesa. Sí. Bien. So that's how we do an ER verb. Now, if you will, let's do an IR verb. We'll go through the same steps. Here's one that we use all the time. The verb vivir, which means to live. Okay? Now let's do it a different way this time. I want to put the stem into the chart first. So it's an IR verb. I'm going to drop the ending and add the stem. VIV. All right, there we go. Now what? Let's add the endings. Ready? For IR verbs. O, es, e, imos, en, vivo, vives, vive, vivimos, viven. All right, sweet. We just conjugated 2 new verbs, 2 different types, ER and IR. All right, awesome. We're doing great. If we look over here, here's some more examples of ER and IR verbs. Now, all of these are regular. They follow the same rules. Next week, we will be looking into irregulars, or boot verbs. But for now, we're keeping it simple. Escribir, to write. Abrir. Hello. Abrir means to open. Ver, to see. Beber, to drink. Romper. Romper is to break. Asistir, which means, false cognate alert. Asistir does not mean to assist. It means to attend. And the verb beber, which means to ought to should. All right? And comer and vivir, which we already did, to eat and to live. So we see the examples of these verbs and their conjugations. And for those of you in class, I would suggest that you copy those down, that chart, into your notes, so when we do our homework assignments and we are conjugating, we can do so. One of the hardest problems that I've had is not so much putting it into a chart, because that is uniform. It's boom, 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 boom. Easy, the order of operations. The hardest part is on the fly, of knowing how to conjugate who is doing the action. So as we work at it, you'll be able to make the relation of, I'm talking to her, okay, I need to, any verb, any action, I will have to conjugate with the or the a. All right? Is anytime I'm talking about myself, yo, and doing an action, it'll end in o. So if we look at our words over here, escribir, I want to say I write. Escribo, I drop that and add o. Yo abro la puerta. Yo bebo agua. I drink water. Yo rompo la piñata. I break the piñata. Yo asisto a las clases. I attend the classes. And yo debo hacer mi tarea. I ought to do my homework. Okay? Yo como hamburguesa. And yo vivo en Colorado. Muy bien. So that's our quick lesson today for those of you that checking in on ER and IR verbs. Now for the next time, like I said, we will cover irregulars. But for now, go ahead and practice your present tense AR, ER, and IR verbs. Until next time, amigos, hasta luego.